Ready for a deep dive?
Always.
Well, today we're going to be diving into the world of dopamine detoxes.
Okay.
We're going to try to figure out how to break free from those digital distractions that keep us from getting things done. And for this deep dive, we're going to be digging into this book by Thibaut Maurice called Dopamine Detox, a short guide to eliminate distractions and train your brain to do hard things.
Okay. Sounds interesting.
Have you heard of this?
I have.
Okay, cool.
I'm familiar with the general concept.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are these days.
Yeah.
You know that feeling when
Yeah.
you're restless, procrastinating on important tasks,
Yeah.
constantly getting sidetracked by emails?
It's like email, social media.
Yeah.
All of it.
All of it, the whole 9
The
yards.
whole thing.
Right.
And this book really dives into, the reasons why that is and
Yeah.
how we can kind of fight back against it.
Right. It's fascinating because it's not just about willpower.
Right.
Like, we're actually up against a system
Yeah.
that has been...
Like the internet is using us, right?
It's like the internet is using us. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, think about those algorithms that
Yeah.
seem to know exactly what...
They know exactly what I want, when I want it, and how to get me to click it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Maurice argues that, these algorithms are so sophisticated now
Yeah.
that they're actually hijacking our attention.
Yeah.
It's like a new kind of arms race,
Mhm.
and the battlefield is your brain. And the stakes are pretty high.
Oh, yeah.
Your time, your focus, maybe even your sense of well-being.
Right. So let's get into the science behind it.
Okay, yeah.
What exactly is dopamine?
Okay.
And how does it play into all this?
Well, so dopamine is a neurotransmitter
Okay.
that essentially anticipates rewards.
Okay.
And that anticipation drives us to take action.
Okay.
But here's the thing. It's not really about pleasure itself.
Okay.
It's about the anticipation of a reward
Oh.
that actually triggers that dopamine release.
Oh, okay.
So think about, that notification that pops up on your phone.
Yeah.
It's not like you're actually enjoying that little red dot.
Right, right.
But there's that anticipation of maybe seeing something exciting.
Yeah.
Or getting a message from someone you like.
Or, like some juicy piece of gossip. Or,
Oh, yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's that possibility that
Yeah.
really hooks us.
So it's not even the reward itself. It's
Yeah.
just the possibility of reward.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And Maurice even calls dopamine the molecule of more.
Interesting.
So think about it. What are you addicted to?
Mm.
Is it scrolling through social media,
Oh, yeah, probably.
binging shows,
That too.
gaming?
Yeah, all of the above.
Whatever it is, I bet it's not actually bringing you lasting happiness.
That's a good point.
But that anticipation of a reward,
Right.
that's what keeps us coming back for more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see how this all connects. But,
Yeah.
part of it is a bit skeptical.
Okay.
Is it really fair to call things like social media or, entertainment? Are those really addictions?
Yeah.
I mean, don't those things also bring people joy too?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a debate,
Yeah.
about how similar
Yeah.
these types of engagement are to
mhm.
full-blown addiction.
Okay.
But what's clear is that, these platforms and these algorithms
Yeah.
are expertly designed to trigger those dopamine loops
Yeah.
to keep us engaged, to keep us coming back for more.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely felt that pull. It's like, you should be working on something important.
Right.
But then, YouTube starts suggesting videos. And all of a sudden,
Yeah,
I've been down a rabbit hole for 3 hours.
right.
And those related videos, that's the worst, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a perfect example of how these algorithms work.
Yeah.
They're constantly feeding us new content, new notifications, new rewards to keep us engaged.
Yeah.
And it creates this cycle
Yeah.
where we need, ever-increasing levels of stimulation
Oh, wow.
to get that same dopamine hit.
Yeah, that makes sense. Maurice talks about food cravings too, right?
Yeah.
Like how the food industry kind of uses our biology against us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
So we evolved to crave things like sugar and fat,
Right.
right? Because back in the day,
Yeah.
those things were scarce
Yeah.
and they were essential for survival.
Right.
But now food is abundant, right?
Right. Yeah.
And the food industry has figured out
Yeah.
how to exploit those cravings.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they engineer foods with what they call bliss points.
Bliss points.
Bliss points, yeah.
What's a bliss point?
It's basically manipulating the sugar, the fat, the salts, and
Mm-hmm.
other ingredients to create combinations
hmm
that our brains just find irresistible.
So it's not even just our lack of willpower.
Right.
It's like they've cracked the code
Yeah,
to make us want to eat more, even when we're not even hungry.
exactly. And it's not just about adding sugar.
Oh, wow.
They manipulate portion sizes, textures,
Yeah.
even the packaging
Wow.
to maximize those cravings.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of scary.
It is a little bit, yeah.
Like, if companies can manipulate our brains like that with food,
Right.
what does that even mean for our ability to, make healthy choices?
It definitely raises some important questions about personal responsibility versus, the power of these engineered cravings.
Right.
It's almost like we're fighting a losing battle against our own biology.
So how do we even fight back against this?
Yeah.
This constant bombardment of stimulation,
right?
Whether it's from technology or from food, that's where this idea of a dopamine detox comes in, right?
Right. And what's interesting is that there are different approaches to it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk dopamine detox. What are those different approaches?
Well, there's the 48-hour complete detox.
Okay.
That's like
So 2 whole days.
2 whole days.
Wow.
The most rigorous option.
Okay.
It's like hitting the reset button.
So no social media.
No social media.
No video games.
No video games.
No video games.
No Netflix.
What do you do for 48 hours?
Well, the idea is to replace those activities with things that actually promote calm and focus.
Oh.
Things like meditation.
Okay.
Spending time in nature.
Yeah.
Reading, having deep conversations.
Okay.
Anything that doesn't trigger that dopamine rush.
Okay, so things that kind of bring your stimulation level down.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that sounds intense.
Yeah.
But I can see how it could be really effective.
It can be, yeah.
I mean, even thinking about doing that makes my brain itch for a notification.
That's exactly the point, though.
Okay.
To break that cycle.
Yeah.
Of needing constant stimulation.
Okay. But there are other options, right?
Right, there's also the 24-hour detox.
Okay.
A shorter but still beneficial version.
Okay, so that feels a little more manageable
for
those of us who aren't ready to go completely off the grid.
Right.
Yeah. What about though, what if there's just one specific thing, like one area that's problem? Like I know for me, social media, I can waste hours on that.
Right.
So is there something for that?
That's where the partial detox comes in.
Okay.
So you identify your biggest source of stimulation.
Okay.
Maybe it is YouTube.
Yeah.
Maybe it's constantly checking email, whatever it is.
Whatever your vice is.
Whatever your vice is, exactly.
Target that specifically.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's kind of like a personalized approach to the detox.
Yeah.
I like that. So once we decide which approach is right for us, how do we actually put this into practice?
Yeah.
I know Maris talks about this 3-step method.
Yes, he does.
So step 1.
Step 1 is to identify your distractions.
Okay.
He suggests making what he calls a cans and can'ts list.
Okay, so what activities are we trying to do more of and which ones?
Yeah, which ones are we trying to avoid?
Okay, so cans would be things like focusing on work, spending time with family, going for a run.
Absolutely.
And can'ts would be scrolling through social media endlessly or binge watching shows.
Yeah.
Anything that basically sends me down a rabbit hole.
Right, yeah, the things that kind of suck you in and you get washed.
So once I have my cans and can'ts list.
Right, so once you've made that list, step 2 is to add friction to those can't activities.
Okay, so make them harder to do.
Make them harder to do.
Okay.
So instead of having my phone right next to me while I'm working,
Yeah.
I put it in another room.
Oh, okay.
Or I log out of all my social media accounts.
Okay.
So I have to go through the extra step of logging back in
Oh,
if
yeah.
I want to check them.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Make those bad habits a little more difficult.
Exactly.
And I guess it works the opposite way too, right?
Yes,
For
exactly.
your can activities.
Make those easier.
Make them easier.
Yeah. So maybe set out your workout clothes the night before.
Okay.
Or have your, work materials ready to go first thing in the morning.
So it's all about setting yourself up for success.
Exactly. Setting yourself up for success.
I think Marissi even suggested putting your internet modem in storage.
He did.
To make it harder to just mindlessly browse.
He did, and it worked for him.
Wow.
It's about outsmarting your own laziness.
Okay.
And then the third step is starting first thing in the morning.
Okay, why is the morning so crucial?
So the idea is to establish a calming morning routine.
Okay.
Before you get sucked into that stimulation vortex.
Okay.
It's about starting your day with intention and focus.
So before I even look at my phone?
Ideally, yeah.
Okay, so what are some good activities to do in the morning?
Think meditation, stretching, journaling, maybe even just writing down a few things you're grateful for.
Okay.
Anything that kind of helps you cultivate that sense of calm and clarity before the day's distractions take over.
That makes a lot of sense. So, okay, we've identified our distractions, added friction, and we've established a good morning routine. Now, what about actually getting the work done?
Yeah.
I think we all know.
I think we all know, yeah.
It's one thing to plan,
right,
but it's another thing to actually do it.
Absolutely.
So how do we bridge that gap?
Well, Murius really emphasizes planning your day.
Okay.
And identifying your key tasks.
Okay.
And what he means by that is not just making this giant to-do list.
Right.
But really thinking about what are the things that are going to have the biggest impact on your long-term goals?
So being more intentional with the to-do list.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that. So once we have those tasks identified, how do we actually start doing them?
Right.
How do we develop that laser focus?
Well, so Mira suggests working in the same place at the same time each day.
Okay.
And eliminating as many distractions as possible.
Okay.
So think about writers like Stephen King,
Yeah.
who famously sits down to write at the same time every day. He doesn't wait for inspiration. He just starts working.
I love that the action precedes the motivation.
Exactly.
Sometimes you just have to start.
Sometimes you just have to start.
Even if you don't feel like it.
Even if you don't feel like it.
Miras also talks about open versus closed systems.
Yeah, this is a really interesting concept.
Okay, so remind me what those are again?
Okay, so open systems, things like social media, the internet, they are designed to keep you engaged and coming back for more.
Right.
They're full of distractions.
So like a closed system would be the opposite of that.
Right.
Okay.
Think of working on a single document.
Okay.
Or using a task-specific app. Or even just reading a physical book.
Okay.
Closed systems are more focused.
Yeah.
They're self-contained.
Right.
They help you minimize distractions.
So if I'm understanding correctly, it's about starting a day with intention in a closed system.
Yeah.
So you don't get sucked into that open system vortex.
You got it. It's all about setting that tone for a productive day.
Okay.
And another way to think about it is kind of like tuning your brain to the right stimulation wavelength.
Stimulation wavelength. Okay, I like that. Explain that.
So imagine your brain operates on different frequencies, right?
Okay.
When you're overstimulated, it's like trying to listen to a radio station, but there's just static. You can't focus.
Yeah.
But when you create a calm, focused environment, that closed system, you're tuning into the right frequency for work.
Okay, I like that analogy. So we got our system set up, we're feeling good.
Right.
But even with all of these strategies, there's always that risk of relapse, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I know how tempting it can be to just check my phone or scroll through Instagram for a minute, even when I'm trying to be focused.
Of course.
Yeah.
And Miras acknowledges that, relapses are normal.
Okay, so how do you deal with that?
Well, the key is to be self-aware.
Okay.
And recognize when it's happening.
So pay attention to those moments when you're feeling that urge to check your phone or get distracted.
Yeah.
And then consciously choose to redirect your focus.
Exactly.
Yeah, so develop that muscle, that awareness muscle.
Right, exactly.
To catch ourselves in those moments of weakness.
Yeah.
How do we actually do that?
So Miras suggests having contingency plans for your biggest triggers.
Okay.
So let's say checking your phone first thing in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
Sends you down that rabbit hole of distraction.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Right. Picture that worst case scenario.
Yeah.
You grab your phone, you get sucked into emails or social media.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're feeling overwhelmed and behind.
Yeah.
And your day hasn't even really started yet.
I hate that.
Right.
So how do we avoid falling into that trap?
Well, instead, visualize how you'd like to react.
Okay.
Imagine putting your phone down.
Okay.
And doing a quick meditation.
Okay.
Or some stretching.
Okay.
By mentally rehearsing those situations.
Okay.
And having a predetermined response, you're much better equipped to handle those triggers.
So it's like having a game plan.
Yeah, like a game plan.
Get my focus.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
But, what about those times when we can't resist? How do we deal with those inevitable slip-ups?
Well, be kind to yourself.
Okay.
Don't beat yourself up about it.
Okay.
Just acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And get back on track.
Okay.
Remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
That's a good reminder. It's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly.
But let's be real.
Yeah.
There's a lot working against us in this battle for our attention.
Absolutely. Miras actually says the world is against you.
Wow.
In this sense.
Yeah.
There's constant competition for our attention.
Yeah.
From apps, advertisements, notifications, everything.
It's like we're swimming in a sea of distractions.
Yeah, pretty much.
So how do we stay afloat?
Yeah.
How do we reclaim our focus and make sure we're using our time and energy on the things that really matter?
It's about building sustainable systems and habits for long-term focus. Remember those here and now neurotransmitters we talked about?
The ones that promote calm and presence.
Exactly, yeah. So
endorphins, oxytocin, serotonin.
Right, exactly. So we can cultivate those by incorporating things like meditation, stretching, mindfulness, spending time in nature, and even, Boredom?
Boredom.
That sounds
a little counterintuitive.
I know, right?
I feel like we're trying to avoid being bored.
Right, but allowing ourselves to experience boredom can actually be really beneficial.
Okay.
It lowers our stimulation threshold.
Okay.
It helps us appreciate simpler things. And it can even spark creativity.
Huh.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Some of your best ideas probably came
when
you were just letting your mind wander.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Okay, yeah, I'm starting to see the value in boredom.
Yeah.
So it's not about becoming like a productivity robot.
No, not at all.
It's about finding that balance, right?
Exactly.
Between engagement and stillness.
Yeah, and having more control over your attention so you can consciously choose how you want to spend it.
Okay.
Whether that's on meaningful work, deep connections, or, those things that bring you genuine joy.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess the big takeaway here is that we have the power.
You have the power
to control our focus.
To control your focus, yeah.
It's not easy.
It's not easy.
But with, the awareness, and the intention, and the right strategies, we can break free from these dopamine-driven distractions and reclaim our attention.
It's a choice.
Okay.
Are you going to let those algorithms and those engineered cravings control your life? Or are you going to take back the reins and steer yourself towards the life you want to create?
That's such a powerful message.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a thought-provoking question.
Okay.
Now that you understand the power of closed systems, what is one change you can make to your daily environment to reduce distractions?
That's a great question.
Could you create a dedicated workspace that's free of technology?
Absolutely.
Could you start your day with a closed system activity, like reading a physical book or journaling?
Those are great examples.
Yeah.
Remember, even small changes can make a big difference.
Yeah, that's true.
Start with one step.
Okay.
And see how it impacts your focus and your productivity.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of dopamine detox.
Absolutely.
Hopefully you've learned a little something and you feel empowered to reclaim your focus and your attention.
Yes.
Be sure to check out the show notes for a link to the book and other resources.
Yeah, great resources.
And until next time,
yes,
stay curious and keep learning.
Absolutely.